Yeah, I'll be at a getting. I'll be at a getting. On Saturday. And Jay, at least it's not people. Yeah.
Get rid of this little copy.
Haven't caught a coon for my own meeting since he's been there for a while. He's seen 2 or 3 days. Yeah. There's more of them around. I don't think I can start, something like that. That's a lot. You don't understand. One batch out there, might some more. Yeah. No. Yeah. Yeah, but that doesn't work out. That's something that's just gotten off because you're not. Veto. Yeah. Veto. You know, like me trying to get a bitch line through a hook and I need my reader. Oh, yeah. Like the same thing, trying to stick a thread in it. Yeah.
All right, we'll go ahead and call to order the regularly scheduled meeting. USD 379 tonight. First thing to do is approval of the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Got a motion,
Second.
a second, all those in favor? Agenda approved 7-0. Dave, pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appreciate everybody coming out tonight, in attendance, and all those listening. First thing we have is a recognition of students.
I think we have it, at least some out in the lobby, Mr. Young, if you wouldn't mind inviting them in.
I know she didn't get her down from her mother, so.
Now she come up.
Maybe mom could do this. What's your name is?
My name is Kyle Fitzmeyer.
And did you play such a custom?
I was fourth at the state cross country meet.
Can I tell a quick story then?
Yes,
At regionals, what happened at regionals, Miss Fitzpatrick, what happened at regionals? Where they didn't have her coming in first,
she was missing.
yeah, it was missing. Somebody was not happy, I don't know who that was. Somebody was not happy that she wasn't up on the board, I was like, they'll get it worked out.
There was a whole lot of not happy, right?
Yeah.
Because the coach was way out and couldn't
You know, I
see.
always told my kids, I don't care what you do, just don't embarrass your parents. In your case, I don't care what your mom does, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
Congratulations.
Communication. citizens open forum. There wasn't a sheet out. Was anybody here tonight that would like to share anything with the board? Okay. Jump right into presentations then. So,
Before our teams get up here and share with you guys, I just want to show everybody where the district action plan is. And so on the board's website, there's mission statement and goals right over here. And it leads you to the four goal areas from our strategic plan, and under responsive culture of learning is the action plan right here. And so our district action plan has two goal areas. One is focused on reading and the other one on employability skills. And so our first one is focused on the state assessment for the ELA scores. And our next one is our post-secondary success rate. And so as a district, we have an action plan under those two goal areas. And so the items that are on here, the district is responsible for, but then each building goes back with their leadership team and decides, how does that look in our building? And so Garfield and the high school, they're gonna present tonight first, and our other schools will come at the next meeting. And they're just gonna share a little bit about their goals and how they got there. So I don't know, who wants to go first?
So, good evening, everyone. So, we're gonna pull up.
Go of yours.
Yes,
They have it in front of them. I don't have it on that.
you don't have it on there. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first one item is what we would call our lag measures. And under the ELA item, so it'll be at the very, very top up in the box, says system goal 1. Develop academically prepared students for each cohort group. The percentage of students scoring levels 2, 3, and 4 will increase by 2%. 8th grade to 10th grade per year on the Kansas ELA assessment by 2027. If you guys will look down through, that's our lag measure. Then we go into what we call our lead measures. And those are in the middle column. Reading, instruction, and research, HMH. And HMH is essentially, it's our reading curriculum that we have in a nutshell. And we'll implement it with fidelity, things that we've gone through so far. When you guys looked at the district goal, when we talk about our high school goals, what we did was we kind of started with the district goal and then we worked our way backwards to where, basically it's kind of like a funnel down to the smallest level, which would be basically essentially our students. Go from a building goal to a classroom goal, then take it down to each individual student that we have. So the process for that is, how do we get to that point with this? And the process essentially is this. When we talk about this, this is something that we are going to have at every single one of our DLT meetings, our BLT meetings, our SRT meetings, et cetera. And I can go all those acronyms if you want me to. But it's a constant communication loop, and Steph and I, we're gonna talk, she's probably gonna focus in on this again when she gets up and presents for Garfield, but this is a constant communication loop that we have with all of our stakeholders. All of our groups at the high school, et cetera. And it worked out really well. We trust our staff. They're the first and foremost that they're kind of the experts, and when you're running a building that size, you kind of have to trust them. And that's what they went to school for. They're professionals, et cetera. And we trust them wholeheartedly. And we have a saying at the high school, same rope, same direction. And I've used that for a long, long time. It's in my office. There's stickers all over the place. And I don't know how many times we used it in our meetings today. And it holds true that if everybody's pulling on the same rope and same direction, a lot can get done. And I think that's that trust that we have with our staff, et cetera. Going to our next goal, lag measure number 2. We'll develop socially prepared students with appropriate employability skills. And for each school year, the percentage of seniors who have taken a dual credit course, participated in internship, work skills, or have earned a certificate by the time they graduate will be 73% or more. If you go down to dropping my card share, I knew I was gonna do that, so I stapled everything together. Our lead measures. Teams develop aligned activities to the individualized plan of studies for all students. IPSs, et cetera. Those are things that we have been using for a long, long time. You know, our goal is to make sure that our kids are academically prepared, but also prepared for the real world. And we have tons of kids that are in internships right now every year. When we started at the internship program, we had maybe 15, 16 kids. Now we're up into the 42. So sorry, I put you on the spot there. So, but I think that's one thing that we talk about is how we get to those kids to that point. And it takes all of us to do that. And I think that's probably the most important thing is that constant communication and how are we going to get those kids to that point. Sometimes I get to rambling, so.
You want to share a little on the vocab, because it's not just your ELA teachers working on the reading goal.
Yeah, last year, even before we started this process, last year, we started the early conversations about what can we do as a high school that every single teacher does every single day, every single week in the classroom. And one of those things that we really started having those early conversations was vocabulary. Whether you're a shop teacher, whether you're a PE teacher, weights, it's not just our ELA teacher. We wanted to make sure that everybody could be on board with kind of this same goal. And vocabulary to us as a building was probably the easiest to do. So right now, to measure, we have a weekly check-in that our staff does, and it's on Friday mornings, and they're just checking to make sure that they're putting in 3 to 5 new vocabulary words every week. And we talked about some of those today. Jacqueline came in and presented today, and we talked about some of those that each teacher has in their classroom. And that's the way we can kind of track it, say, okay, we're missing here, et cetera. But they're able to check to make sure that they're getting 3 to 5 vocabulary words in a week. Obviously, some teachers are going to get a lot more. Some teachers, they might have these 3 this week. They might use one that's the same from previous weeks and then just build on it. So I think vocabulary is probably one of those that everybody could get on board with. It worked out really, really well. Moving into this year's goals that we have for not only the high school, but also the district.
All right, thank you.
Did you want me to talk about maybe the investigative teams or anything like that?
Good, if you want to share what investigation teams you do have.
Okay, our investigative teams, if you guys look on the back of our,
They don't have the back side.
they don't have the back either.
I just gave the front page.
All right, so somebody really dropped the ball. I think she told us that. She told me you guys weren't gonna have them, and I can put them up on the board, but I don't have the greatest handwriting. Left-handed, all those things. So our investigative teams, we have a reading investigative team, an employability skills. We have a student culture investigative team, staff wellness and communication. Those change from year to year based off the needs of obviously our district, but also our high school. I mean, we started these investigative teams 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, and they stayed constant for a couple of years, but then we kind of pivot and we change those up based off the needs of our kids, based off the needs of our staff. One thing that we've probably had for a long time is staff wellness. We like to have a lot of fun at the high school with the staff. We do pop-up stuff all the time, just to make things interesting. So, yeah, those are our investigative teams. Any questions you guys might have for me? All right.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good evening. Thanks for having us tonight. Stephanie Lane and Anna Nepper, she's our special education teacher and part of our DLT. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about our action plan. So I'll get us started with system goal 1. Our first wave goal is moving 2% of our total population of students identified as level 1 to those levels 2, 3, and 4 in our ELA. And so we've got our goal area lead measures down below, but before I want to kind of tell you a little activity we've been doing within our building is called honoring the 2%. And so we have that as a part of our goal. So at the beginning of the year, we kind of identified, well, who would be our student if each teacher could say, I'll move one kid. I'll get them moved from a 1 to a 2. Who could you choose and what could you implement? And so then we kind of have these activities or times to reflect where we can say, who's this kid? What do I need to do? And so today we did another data dig to look at our data, see how that honoring of our 2% is going. And so it's been really neat to do that. And we share it as a building. We're a small building, so we have the opportunity to kind of share that dialogue. And so we all identified it. It's in our scoreboards, which is a part that we'll be explaining, you know, in later months probably on this. And so it's there to kind of hold us accountable and remind us. So down below on the lead measures part, you'll see that we have implemented intervention groups that meet daily and last for 60 minutes. My first year as principal, we only had 30 minutes a day as intervention, which meant students either got an ELA that day or a math, then the next day was every other, which is not best practice. So we were able last year to change our schedule, turn it into an hour. So now every student in our building receives 30 minutes of math and 30 minutes of ELA a day. And we use our assessment dashboard that our data team has created, our attendance data, and we use all of that to then create groups. Our other lead measure, right below it, we will create and implement district-created curriculum standard alignment maps for all content areas with vocabulary focus across all grade levels. So kind of similar to the high school, we're utilizing the things we're doing district-wide. We're applying that within our art classrooms, our PE classrooms, our ELA. So every teacher is kind of held to that same standard of focusing on and incorporating vocabulary. You want to tell a little bit about our second goal?
Yeah, our second goal is we will maintain our chronic absenteeism rate at 7% from spring of 2024 to spring of 2028. We as a building looked at what we could do for our different goals. And as a building, we wanted to get kids in the door because if we don't get them in the door, we're not going to be able to teach them what they need to learn. So we looked at ways to keep kids wanting to come to school, which is a part of our novel studies, a part of our Bengal innovators. We have them at the end of the day, so that way kids are wanting to be there all day long, which is another reason that we can get them in the door is they really like those activities. They enjoy not having to sit and learn all day long. Innovators gets them up and moving. The novel studies gets them into maybe a book that they would enjoy that they normally won't get to read. It could be higher level thinking or it could be lower level thinking. And so we also look at our scoreboard and Step updates that for us. It's in our teachers lounge every month. We right now I think we were at 7% for August, 8% for September, and then to 6% for our October. Is that right? Okay. And so our biggest thing is that 4th and 5th grade, they kind of start to not want to be there. And so we just were trying to think of ways to get them in the building.
And part of that too is if you look at the difference between a kindergartner who can't stay home by themselves and a 4th and 5th grader who can and can maybe talk mom and dad or grandma and grandpa into it. We really want to buy in and get them convinced that they want to be at school and don't want to miss out. So those are the ways that we can do that. So some of our teams that we have, we kind of have 2 separate sets. So we have ongoing year-long teams, like our real world application team. That's our career exploration, ways that we can expose students to future life skills. We have our data team. Mrs. Nepper is a part of that. And so we truly sit and enter and organize and desegregate data, and then we share it back with the rest of the building. And then we have our BLT and DLT, but last year we also created throughout the year a reading team and an employability team. And so when we would meet for in-services, we would split into those 2 teams, and that's how we formulated our goals. When we meet for in-service, there's anywhere from 12 to 15 of us. So we're really small, so we get to have those close-knit conversations, be really honest and open about things. Use student names if necessary because it is confidential and small. And so those teams really helped us make those goals. And then like what Mr. Young said, going back to that communication loop, every time we had a DLT we would come back and talk with the staff and we would come up with ideas and get feedback. So that then we can make sure our plan was strong. And then we'd forward it on to Jacqueline and Brett to get feedback or reach out to Jen, some of our state reps to kind of help support us and make sure we were going in the right direction. So questions on this?
Our hope is tonight they just shared their action plans, but you know, we fast forward a year and they will show you data because this is baseline. So then they'll show you the data and maybe even examples of some of the work that they've done. And, you know, Mr. Nelson and I today saw the agendas come in from all 5 buildings for the work that they did. And there was a lot of very productive, good things going on towards not only our district plan, but their building plans. So.
Yeah, the tie into those goals, I think, is the important thing because it's a gift to have those days with our building. And so we want to make those count. You know, we know it's an inconvenience for our families when the kids are out of school, but we need that opportunity to collaborate professionally as a staff. And so when we have that opportunity, we want to take advantage of it. And so today, a lot of our focus was on our data. What are we doing well? What could we do differently or better? And I think that's just that nice opportunity to have that rich dialogue with your staff to make better changes for our students. So thanks for having us tonight, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to consent agenda. Any questions on the consent agenda? You know, the stuff on the disposal resolution, so once we do that, can that go to Purple Wave, or does that go to the state thing, or how does that?
If if it adds value, we utilize Purple Wave. So once you guys approve it, then we'll, until once we get a big enough, you know, group of items, then Jason is typically our Blue Wave or our Purple Wave person who will work on putting those on.
But that one, it all had to go to some warehouse in the state and they did it, but that's good. Anything else? We can consent agenda, good questions on? If not, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
A second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. And then do go back on that, the attendance thing is nice to get in the building,
Yeah.
each month, that little graph of that, so
Yes.
I appreciate that. Let's see, okay, so we'll go to reports. Board reports, mayor of the board. Sure.
Well, I just want to commend, I know, our athletic teams had a lot of success. I think it says a lot that we have regional champs for cross-country, regional champs for volleyball, regional runner-up for tennis, and football team played very well, long season, a hard season. But I also want to commend them and their parents for handling defeat or hard situations with grace and in a way to make our district proud. So it's proud to see how they behaved on and off the field. And thank you to all of the coaches and many hours put into our student successes.
Anybody else?
I just like to personally thank all the people that were involved, behind the scenes, we included, for instance, for a successful board tour that we recently had in October. So anyway, it was great. Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good, thank you. You'll move on to Brett, superintendent.
I won't bore you with reading. I just have had some links in there on a few of our district-wide committees that we have going on. Just to note, we're waiting on more information. August is kind of taken on this project of Board Docs is forcing a change with their software and the system they use. So we will be moving to a different change. It's with the same company, but it's a different platform. Is that accurate, August? And it probably will.
Friendly.
Yeah, I saw a short demo and it's pretty cool. I think I like it.
Very good.
And then I have an update on our Health and Benefits Advisory Committee, Budget Reduction Committee, and an update on the Blue Ribbon Task Force. So feel free to read those links as you have time.
Is the one that on the budget thing,
Mhm.
the reduction process thing, the exemption and restrictions. I know we can't with the telec and that. But if it got to it, could we go back and increase that assessment again if it shows on what we charge other schools? Like if there's just increases.
For sure, and this is mainly for our committee,
Right.
that our committee is not focused on that, that would be Tom and Anita with the
Sure.
advisory board, but yeah,
Sure.
all of that could be an option, but
Okay.
that was
Just-
more of just for the committee, just because it involves 5 other districts and not just ours, if that makes sense. But yeah, down the road, absolutely.
What is the budget? Your committee meeting again? About
This week, is it this week?
Yes,
I can't remember the date, I don't have it.
yeah, the 14th, Thursday.
There you go, Thursday.
The budget one or the health one?
Now you got me
The
confused.
health one is this Thursday. The budget one is Thursday.
Oh, sorry, yeah, whoever needs it, so.
I can send that to you. I'm digging through a bunch of
I think
calendars.
our next one's the LT, December 4th. We have admin and directors next week, but yeah.
And then the other thing, everybody else on the board can chime in on this from a board standpoint is. I think we need to look at how all our different administration is structured with responsibilities and pay. From here, you see what I'm saying, Brad? So I made a list here, just like how many assistant superintendent directors, the responsible assistants pay. From the bus barn, maintenance, same thing, how many positions assistants pay, just so we look at everything. When we're looking at reduction, especially, I mean, I totally agree, is that the number one thing is what does not affect the classroom and the students, you know what I'm saying, so. Is to get a chance. You know, put that together, I mean, for
So,
example, you know,
Yeah, so every,
in comparison to school districts with similar students.
like the number of.
Yeah, like in their administrative office to do, you know, yeah. That's what I'm talking about, the number of them.
Okay.
Their structures as compared to in common sizes as to what we have. Okay. Anything else for Brett? One minute. Okay. Move on to Anita.
Any questions?
Position wise, are we holding out?
Well, I really hate to say, because
Oh, yeah, one of those deals.
we're in a good shape right here. I'll say. Yeah.
Well, way to go on the 4 perfect attendance. That's impressive.
That was actually down, especially first, excuse me, 9 weeks. The kids get back to school, they get sick, parents have to stay home with them, you know.
Yeah.
We usually see a lot that first 9 weeks, so. You know,
Anything else for you?
no child check I put on there. We're scheduling one for Riley, haven't yet, but didn't have a lot. I think we're catching them. We're doing 2 in Clay Center, so we have another one coming up. We had quite a few the first time. Actually, the first one, I think we had 4 came from Glasgow, not a lot from Clay Center, but we, you know, springtime's big because they're trying to get those kiddos in child check for preschool for the next year, so. We're gonna do 2 here each fall and spring so that they're not so big. Give people an opportunity. Sometimes kids get sick and they can't come and they have to wait a while, so.
Anybody have any other questions for me? No, thank you. We'll move on to Jacqueline.
In my report, the professional learning, that was last year's, was what we did on the 13th. We actually, our PD was today, so I apologize. I will take that out and upload today's. But we had in service today, again, as they kind of spoke, it was designed by their building, but I have the parent teacher conference results in there. And then, I put the attached letter for driver's ed. Because we, weren't able to find enough facilitators to drive, so we'll see if we can get anybody trained and
As I say, that's discouraging and I get it. I'm not blaming. I just want to make sure we emphasize that we're just not trashing it, that we're gonna try again and get people in that system and.
we
see what
had
can
one
do.
person step up last week and say they were interested, but they wouldn't be certified until next fall. So,
That's gonna become a duty of the board president without a break on your side. of
Oh, wow. I, like I say, I went through that driver's ed program and we had one in the car with us at that time that would scare me out of any future. Teaching driver's ed, so, but,
I know I wanna give you guys a chance to, any questions you have on the fundraising report, but one other thing that I'd like to share that I put up in my notes. Is, we are allowed the opportunity to apply for Perkins funds, which are federal funds that can be used for equipment and professional development. And, we have always been a part of the Smoky Hill Consortium because you have, in order to maintain the grant on your own, or the funds on your own, you have to have 15,000 or more to you, and it's a formula. It's on KSDE's website. We're always around that $12,000 to $13,000 range. We never could hold our own. So we have been a part of the consortium with probably 40 or more districts for forever, for quite some time. And the service centers across the state are not interested in hosting that grant work anymore. And so we have an opportunity to form our own consortium with another district if we would like. We have Mr. Nelson and I are doing a Zoom tomorrow with a district that is almost the same amount as us. We thought we'd be good partners with one other district. If you start getting a whole bunch together, then you also all have to agree. So if it's just one other one that's comparable, we can go over that $15,000 threshold and maybe do some really good things together. So the hard part is we're gonna have to decide by Thanksgiving if we want to do that or not. And so we will be in touch. It's not an option to stay with the base. So the only other thing is we just forgo that money too, and it has been, I would say, pretty instrumental in our like some of our shops and some of our classrooms for CTE to buy equipment that without it would probably have to have a spot on the capital outlay plan, to be quite honest. So we were bringing in roughly 6 to 10,000. I said 8 because that's about the average each year. So it was costing us probably 3,000 to whoever maintained the grant, at Smoky Hill. So, so maybe with combining with another district. Well,
Is like the districts in this area or can it be anywhere in the state? Is there a general?
I think if you can go geographically close, it helps with sharing some of the things. So for example, let's say there's something that the health science, like the A&P class, for example, would use, and you made that big purchase, it'd be easier to trade with your neighbor, or with your neighbor, use it first semester, and you use the second semester, than being all the way across the state. You're not really gonna pick up certain things out of a shop and go share as well. And as far as like the professional development, I think that is mainly focused on like the state CTE conference and some of the state like ag conferences and those kind of things. That's primarily what we have used the funds for through Smoky Hills. So we will.
With our enrollment, I really appreciate anything we can do to try to save that.
Yeah.
Because every dollars helps.
So, and then I also attached information on fundraising and welcome any questions that you guys do have.
So here's my, on the fundraising thing, just is that being, I think I've said this before, is that being an entity that runs off of public tax dollars, to go back and ask people for more money for donations is, we just gotta be careful that we're not doing too many, what they're for. I read through this, I do think, and I don't know, I talked about this, if the board has any appetite for this. I don't want to change the process, anything of going, administrators going to Jacqueline, but I do think that each April, just in my mind, each April is that we get a list of the ones for the following school year, and they should be approved by the board also, since they involve fundraising. I know it probably takes something to change in the policy to add that or whatever, but or handbooks or just so we have an idea of what's gonna be done each of the next year. You know, it's out there, a lot of people in the community get hit a lot. And I just wanna, I mean, like I say, the process is there, they put on there, hey, same as last year. But I think it's a good idea, we get a chance to see that before the school season starts as a board in April. I mean,
I think if we do that, we should probably have some sort of algorithm in place on what basis we would reject or approve it. It can't just be subjective, your personal opinion.
no, I agree.
So, I don't know.
What it would be, one piece of information I'd like to have, I can like, when we did that, the previous year, how much money did that fundraiser? What did it put in those accounts? I'd be interesting to know that. You see what I'm saying? And because there comes a point, if it's not really raising very much, there could be better ways to get that money as opposed to go out and ask of it. So, yeah, I'm just trying to, so the board's aware of all the fundraisers going on and yeah, I mean, that's tough for me. I mean, my job now, I mean, we get hit up all the time. And we do everything we can to help anything that involves kids. That's the first, when we prioritize things, that's our first priority, at the bank or whatever helps kids. And it's just amazing. I mean, are out there and they're all good causes, but I just like to be careful with those. Yes, is what I'm saying. And go ahead.
Well, I was good. Your exact concern is why it was back in the fall of 2016 when this was created. Or got a committee together, I'm sorry, because, and that's why we invited, at the time, it was the Clay County Business Association. Because they did feel like they were constantly getting hit up. And what we discovered is sometimes a school-aged person comes in their business or to their home. And they automatically think it's the school, and it's not.
Right.
It's whether you're in an outside club or organization or whatever it may be. Cause actually at the elementary level, they're limited to one a year that they go door to door, and I actually don't think, I think only one building's doing that right now. At the middle school level, we added on the door to door that the parents had to be included and agree and get surveyed. Yes or no, do you support this or not? And at the high school level, if it's door to door, the kids are supposed to, and that is to prevent being forced to go do that if you don't want to do that. And a lot of our fundraisers that are on that Excel sheet that show them, a lot of them are community events. So for example, like a before the game meal where it's someone's choice, whether they go to the meal or
Well, I think
maybe,
the concession stand thing is great.
yeah.
I really don't consider that fundraising, to be quite honest, because you're not going out and actually asking for a
So is it more
donation.
the door to door?
Yeah, and the
that you're-
donation type of stuff, and maybe some, and I know like PEP is not, but it's associated with the school district still, each buildings, and they give those schools those money.
But we have no control over the booster club or PEP. We don't do anything with their
And we do have
funds.
control over being associated with them, I guess is what I'm saying. And I'm sure we provide them with things we'd like for them to help us with. You see, so it does get tied in the community that they're giving money to the school. I'm just,
Mhm.
from where I'm at, you know what I'm saying? So I just wanna, you know, and the other question I just had on here was, all the athletic ones, at one time that all fell under, I'm not talking about the concession stand stuff. It all fell under Orange and Black Pack, and now there's some that are being done outside of Orange and Black Pack.
From the different athletic groups.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you know,
I think there was a couple of them on
I think
there.
they're selling T-shirts and doing some things like that.
Those are their team stores, what they usually have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I just want to bring up the thing I do have a concern about. You know, raising money, you know, we take tax dollars and then just being careful of what we're doing. The meal stuff and that, I have no issue. No issue with that at all. So,
So sorry,
go ahead.
looks like there was 3 door-to-door on this list, right? The FFA fruit and meat sales, the junior class prom, and then the Garfield fundraiser, and that one's every 3rd year. And then all the rest are,
That's every 3 years.
and then, oh, and the football team had one too. So looks like all the rest were events.
Mhm.
But even like events, how many Wednesday nights do we want to use on those? Are we taking those away from some other group on the Wednesday night? I think they're Wednesday night events at the Methodist.
The scrambles.
Yeah, I think those are all great things for the community on Wednesday nights. You know, when does it come, is there a point, are we using too many of them or, you know, I'm just touchy about that as far as the community goes and with collecting tax dollars and doing that too, so. But see, I don't want to change anything. I just want it to where we see all those before the school year of what's coming at us through the school year.
So do you want some, like, some proposed language for the, like, gifts and donation board policy, like, to have it added
This is
in
just
there?
basically the fundraising.
I know, but do you want it where the grants and donations are?
The grant and doing,
There's a policy for grants and donations, so do you want it in there as well?
we don't have like a fundraising section under. Maybe we could just put that under that grants and donations, specific to fundraising.
Okay, so work on, when do you want
We
language?
can just
Like,
add it to our general Board of Education planner where annually it's approved by the board.
One little sentence, you
okay,
know, that's all.
in April?
If
And
we
you want it
bring it
for
in
the
April
following year?
and yeah, bring it in April or May and we approve it the next. But just show us before, so whether we get it in May, and approve it in June, or we get it in April and approve it in May, look at it.
And so if they don't know, like, look at the band trip, the Branson trip, one of the fundraisers they did was a meal night down in Manhattan. So they don't have the date, they don't have it confirmed, just say propose, we might,
And she's
No
approved it. We may not
specifics.
have the details worked out, but we've agreed we're gonna do.
but know in April what you're doing for
Yeah.
the following year.
Right, right. If something pops up, I mean, she can bring it to the board if something pops up and say, hey, this is happening. So it's not necessarily to slow anything down or it's just. I feel more comfortable.
Informative.
Very, yeah.
Informative, so you know what's going on, so if somebody hits you up.
And I guarantee I will,
Yeah, we know.
I will keep that in my desk.
That's not us or whatever.
you know, I'll keep that in my desk, so it's. When people do ask that, so. And the other reason, I'll be quite frank, some of the things that we're raising funds for. Is if I see the questions on there, can it be taken care of through the school district? Maybe there's some of them that's just a small dollar amount. But rather than go and ask money for, we can just take care of, rather than ask them for that, you know, give us that option. You know, I mean. So just thinking out loud a little bit on that, but I just want to be careful of that because of, like I said, we collect taxpayers' dollars to run the district. And everybody, I mean, you know, I mean, I'm from here and to this day, a lot of people. There's all kinds of fundraising type of things going on in the whole town and in the county, so.
Well, I think we'd just take care of it when we do policy updates in
Yeah,
January.
that's what, yeah, that's what. That's what. And then the only other one, real quick, we don't have to grow that bit. I didn't see any summer camps on the. Are they not considered fundraisers then, the summer camps?
Those are done privately. We have nothing to do with the funds.
Okay. So, I'm just asking. So when I coach, different universities had different policies where some of them, you had to do them within the school. Other ones, they didn't want you to do them within the school. They wanted private, okay? But it's still, but when they were private, we had to charge a facility thing. Like I had to pay for the facilities for them to use. It wasn't much. And I had to show proof that I have my own liability insurance because it wasn't considered part of the school. Is that stuff that we do?
But
Any
I
idea?
don't know if you know about the liability side, but we do have the building usage. So if someone's making money,
Right.
there should be a fee for them to be paying for building usage.
Right.
Maybe no, but we also have language in there that talks about when our facilities are used for our students, there is a difference as well. So
Right.
probably would depend on the camp and the purpose and who's offering it and who's it for.
Whoever makes money, I think should pay a little bit of something. And also, like I say, I'm more to the liability side of it. If it's their own private camp,
The agreement.
I think there
there's
is a
line on the
liability
agreement
There is
that
side.
they have to
insurance.
put.
we should make sure they have their own insurance.
And for the most part, and I'm probably might be wrong here, but for the most part, when we talk about team camps, it's just our kids that,
Yeah, I'm not talking about team camps, but
The youth.
still they do something for the youth and some things like
and
that.
they are charged, yeah.
Yeah,
Anything outside of our kids is, like our high school coaches or whatever, they will be charged. But if it's our team camps, no, there isn't any charge for them because they're our kids. That's why we don't have any other kids, involved with them, so, but there are some.
do our kids on the team, do they have to pay for team camp then? Do they,
Is that,
like our own kids, if they do a team camp, like the football team, do they pay the football coaches to do team?
and usually that is, like, if we have somebody come in that's going to be like.
Guest speaker or
coach,
something.
Guest speaker, something like
Mhm.
that, usually gets them a t-shirt, et cetera, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
So it's policy KG, if you wanted to look it up, that includes the agreement for the use of the facilities. And talks about, what the requirements are and liabilities and all of that. That has to be signed by whoever's using it and then what we charge.
Okay.
So,
I think anytime somebody uses a facility making money, there should be some charge, even if it's, $1 a kid or something, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I just think that's,
And we changed that
That's good.
policy a couple of years ago, and it explicitly says that if the event earns money, they have to pay a fee.
it's,
yes,
yeah,
$15 an hour, $75 max, and then $20 an hour for the custodian. So it's all real detailed in that policy,
I think
thankfully.
it's University, so they charge like $2 a kid or something like that, just a matter of. And then I guess that showed that it was an outside organization and we had to have liability in it, so that's, well, so it's okay. All right. Anything else for Jackie? Thanks. All right, Joy, is your up?
If you refresh that, there's a PowerPoint. Pretty cool. I hope so. No. I mean, they're-
Yeah, it's on ours.
There's not.
Okay.
So Joy, do you want to help us with start with some introductions? I would, but we just met for the first time last week, and so I'm gonna have you kick us off, Joy.
So, I'm Joy Lund, I'm the Director of Dining Services, and along with me is Casey Blue. She's from Winfield, and she's our new area director. And I have two more, Michaela and Kylie. Michaela is the high school cook / assistant, and Tylene is the kitchen manager at the high school.
And so those of you that remember Alicia, she was our regional rep for the last several years. So she's moving
Yes, so she is now regional director of a whole, region of the United States, and I'm taking her spot, so I'm the area director now.
I'm sorry, the PowerPoint has a lot of photos, so it's taking a while to download. Favorite color, favorite. Anything you wanna share?
Well, I will share that at our dinner table at home, we still have oh my gosh, that's what I had for lunch today. So, I mean, the kids are not sick of the food yet. And even though I think John's eating pizza every single day.
And Joy, I do have to say that on our board tour, the meal was excellent. Thank you.
Good.
Yes.
Very good.
You wanna run this?
Yeah, we can run it. Casey, you want to? Okay. Okay, so, of course, there I am, and I've already introduced myself, Michaela and Tylene, Casey, and then, Chef Jay. He's our area chef. He can't, some of you may have met him. He's done some, Discovery Kitchens, not this year. I think it's been a couple years. We had Chef Jordan last year. Meredith is our regional dietitian, and Chris Maggart is our client relations director. We're gonna talk about Happy Teams, focus on menu innovation, culinary programs and support, student engagement, and what makes a meal. Happy Teams. As you see in the picture, there's Tylene and Michaela. They were manning the grill at the high school, thanks to Mr. Young. The picture at the right, that's middle school. And then the lower picture is the team of our whole team. The Chartwells experience. Chartwells has excellent benefits, health insurance, dental, 401k. We also have, it's a health, flexible spending account for healthcare. We have more full-time positions than part-time. In Clay Center, we have two part-time and one PRN, I guess you'd call it, and 13 full-time. Every month on the awards and recognition, we always have like a Cheers Award. So we try to recognize something special, or like, for instance, last month was Garfield, and we recognized Tiffany. All that big class of third graders went to Garfield to fourth grade, so she has, for one person, has a lot to serve in 50 minutes. Ongoing training, every month we're learning more safety, I better get to my notes here. We have,
So every month, we have training for our associates every month. It ranges anywhere from food safety training to just regular safety training to production record training, food quality training. So every month we always focus on something and train our associates. So it's just an ongoing thing that we do.
And the last thing is the career pathing. Like for myself, I started out as just the regular associate with Chartwells.
I went into a kitchen manager and now I'm the director. And Casey basically has done the same thing.
Yeah, so one of the really cool things about Chartwell's is we really try hard to promote from within. I started with Chartwell's. I stepped away from the medical field and started as an administrative assistant with Chartwell's, and then I moved on to a director role, and now I'm an area director role. So we focus a lot on personal growth, development, professional development, and so we, promote from within. It's one of our goals.
Future menu innovations. We are gonna start doing on-the-go menu items in the cafeteria at the high school. The Discovery Kitchen, one of the, when you guys did your building, through the building and ate lunch, that was a Discovery Kitchen. That was, I do one a month. I chose to take Wednesdays as my Discovery Kitchen Day. And so I visit every school, and if there's actually 5 weeks or 5 Wednesdays in a month, I'll get the junior high and the high school. I think we did the energy bites when you guys came through. This month, what I brought tonight for a snack, that's what I'm gonna do for this month. It's cranberry apple relish. We are all the time trying to get ideas and what kids want. And that's one way we teach them. They get to taste it and they get to know how to make it and basically learn what we do as in the kitchen. Our next slide is basically talking about the Culinary Innovation Council, how we learn all the women in culinary. We have chefs and dietitians. We're always learning something new, teaching us back to basic trainings, culinary master classes. We're able to sign up and take classes for that. It's a lot. There's just always something that we can learn. We can sign up. We can, just a lot that they offer. Student engagement. This Discovery Kitchen is up there, and those are some pictures of a few that we took this year. Like I said, I pick a recipe and I take the components to make that recipe, and I visit each school and I make it in front of the kids. They can look and learn and taste it. On this slide, there's a lot on this slide. So basically it's just telling you what components and the breakdown for the requirements of a lunch per grade. And on this slide, this is our lunch. Consists of 5 components: a fruit, a vegetable, a grain, a meat, or a meat alternate, and a milk. Students must take at least 3 components. A fruit or vegetable is required with all lunches. This is our breakfast. It's a daily minimum of 1 grain, milk, or fruit to make it a meal, a breakfast meal. We did this chart. This is kind of to show you year to year our trend, and we are working very diligently to get our breakfast and lunch participation up, and so that's my goal and what I'm working towards. And if you notice the 21, 22, that's when lunches were.
Free for everyone.
And I want to thank you for having us tonight, and we are excited and honored for the opportunity to continue the partnership with Clay County School District 379.
What questions do you have? Anything?
I do have a
Very good.
question about your, that Discovery Kitchen, is that what it's called?
Mhm.
Do you, if the students are, they like what you made, do you add that to your menu?
That's kind of how we do that, and then surveys to try to get new ideas on,
Okay.
and just let them try different things, because sometimes they think, oh, I don't like that, but then once they try it out, then they like it.
Yeah, Discovery Kitchen is a way for us to bring, healthy, good food sources and education at the same time to the classroom to where they're at. So they get to help make the food, maybe even touch the ingredients and then sample the food. And it kind of, sometimes we're even able to send recipes home so they can say, Mom, Dad, parent, look what we did today, and then they can make it at home together. So it's supposed to be kind of an all-encompassing experience for them.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Jack, real quick, I forgot this, I was gonna say something, but I thought the parent teachers conference, and that surprised me. How high that was, just, you know what I'm saying, in my mind, I'm like, so I just want to, I appreciate you putting that in your notes. So, all right. Business discussions. Facilities overview.
Yeah, so, just wanted to follow up while, the facilities tour was fresh in your mind. As you have your own binder, Jeff, I set yours on your table here tonight for you. But just as a reminder, we had
You
a,
have to be a quiz on that.
I already looked it over. I'm kind of curious why some of these things are even on there, but.
Yeah.
and so BHS came in and did, complete facilities audit at no cost to us, and they did. It is all encompassing, whether their job wasn't to say it was a need or not a need. Their job wasn't to say yay or nay, or maybe. It was take a complete audit of everything we have going on in our facilities, get it on one list. And that way we can start, we're number one aware, so we can be preventative in the next 5 to 20 years. And so, and as you know, there's still a lot of work to be done here in regards to, timing this out, balancing what gets done in capital outlay, what might get done in a different venue, or what do we just say, yeah, we're aware of that, but its priority is way down here, so it's gonna get set off to the side. So that's kind of the mindset of BHS. They have several hundred man hours in all of our facilities. And the great thing is now we have it all on one list in one book. And now the real work begins is where we would prioritize and say what fits in where. So and a goal of mine tonight, or an objective, would be to see, as you know, we have limited resources in capital outlay. We've been doing a great job. In fact, one thing BHS said to me over and over again as we had several meetings was how great of condition our facilities are in compared to other districts. And so, yes, we have deferred maintenance items. Yes, there's always going to be more things than we can address or take care of within a capital outlay plan. Our district kind of has a history. If you look back over the last 20 years, 25 years, about every 10 years, they've done a small to medium sized bond. And the objectives of those bonds have been to help keep up with deferred maintenance, those items that can't be taken care of in a capital outlay plan. And as you guys know, it's 2024, our last one was 2014, we're at that 10-year mark. And so the question for tonight is, obviously I want to allow lots of times for discussion, thoughts, whatever you guys might see, but one thing would be is, does this board have an appetite to continue moving forward with the idea of a bond in the future within the next, 8 to 15 months? And just to know how that would work. We do pay our bond off in September 2026, our current bond. We currently allocate 6 mils towards that bond. And so we always collect for our bond payment a year and a half in advance. And so in the fall, this fall of 2025, we will start collecting for the final payment in the fall of 2026. So there's two things to kind of consider as you process through whether or not, this board thinks we ought to continue moving in that direction. Obviously, I feel like what I've kind of heard would be if we were to do a bond would be to do a mill rate neutral bond. And in other words, not allocate more mills than we currently have. So it doesn't require additional tax dollars. So it's, call it what you want, but it's a neutral bond levy is what it would be, is referenced as. We currently allocate 6.03 mils, I think, to the bond fund. And so the thing, as I said, so we'll start collecting. So in this July and August, we'll have to set the levy that we want to collect for the next year. And typically that is not you collect enough levy in order to make your payment. Well, we always carry a cash basis within the bond fund. It's your contingency within your bond fund, for lack of better terms. And so the interesting thing and something that I've learned after meeting with some bond counsel is if we would do, say, in November with your primary election, you could, I think generally, I'm not sure that those are as favorable of passing as doing a special election, but we can get down the road. But if you think about it, in July and August, we'd have to set our levy to make that payment the following year. Well, the state won't allow us to set a levy higher than we need to make that final payment. Are you following? So let's say we generally carry $200 to $300 in our cash basis in the bond fund. If we would wait for an election post budget approval, there would be a chance that we would not be able to allocate the equivalent of a levy in the bond fund to 6. If we had enough cash, it might only be 5. Well, then that's misleading to our public, in my opinion, because it skews the levy in which we're actually collecting for. Whereas if you would consider like a special election late this spring, but you can't hold a bond election 60 days prior or 60 days after a regular election. So anyhow, that's probably way too much for tonight, but I just want you guys to have your minds fully wrapped around what a bond election would mean and the timing behind that, if you wanted to be able to just wrap around that financing. And so depending on, whereas if you would go to a bond election and it would pass prior to adopting a budget, then you're guaranteed to levy whatever levy you had on the ballot. Something to think about. So I guess that's kind of for me, do you want me to continue down this path of timelining these things out, bringing you information, prioritizing everything that goes with that, and just a nod, yay or nay, and that way we kind of have direction on how to agenda plan for board meetings in the future, and those kinds of things. So kind of open it up.
I do, but I think we need to continue at least the process down that path of talking about it and of rolling the bond.
Well, I wasn't at the facilities tour, so I got a couple questions. Where did they come up with some of these items on this list? Were they told to look at that, or?
They did their facility audits and they brought it to us and said, this is everything we found.
So they recommended a 4-room classroom addition at Lincoln?
No, not recommended. They brought.
But they put it on
pricing.
there.
Yes.
So they're recommending it less because they put it on there. I mean, you got $2 million worth of roofs on there. I thought we were about done with roofs.
So this is anything that would potentially need to be addressed in the next 10 years.
So we got $2 million worth of roofs that we're gonna have to replace in the next 10 years?
I mean, yeah,
Really?
I was surprised by the McKinley School. I mean, I didn't think it was that old for the issues it's, McKinley, sorry.
Middle school,
The middle school.
built
So it's on
1990,
there, that's what I thought.
built 93 without, we've never done anything to the roof there, but.
Well, remember, we put a coating on it. too.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
but I'm just saying, with all the roofs that we've replaced and everything, they're saying we need to replace $2 million worth of roofs in the next 10 years.
So we do a annual roof audit. And they come and core drill our roofs and they bring their sun scanners and all of that. And so we've been operating off of that list for the last 5-6 years. And so the middle school is a big part of that, probably 1 million, north of 1 million, right? I don't have it
Between
in
the
front of
middle
me.
Middle school is
1.1 or 1.2, right? in there.
1.1.
So here's the deal with the middle school. It has it has a TPO roof with insulation that's not leaking, but we had that hailstorm on it that jeopardized the TPO, so we put that coating on it, and that coatings has a 10-year warranty. And we put that coating on, you guys, who's on the board 3 years ago, 4-ish, my first year, 5 years ago. And so they're not saying that has to be done. They're saying, hey, this thing has a potential of a 10-year lifespan. You need to have it down on paper. You need to be aware of it. You need to know about it. You need to know that it exists. It doesn't mean you do it. Does that make sense?
Well, I understand that, but it's like the mechanical stuff. We already spent $3 million on mechanical stuff in the last 2 years.
Mhm.
So I can't think in 10 years it's gonna have to be replaced.
So it's not rooftops. So the biggest expense there is at the middle school, and you're gonna know better than I, Jeff. So we do have a new chiller and a new boiler, right?
Correct.
But the air handlers are 30 years old.
Well, yeah, but they're not gonna cost 1.2 million.
The problem is they're in the ceiling and behind brick walls.
Yeah, and I know
You gotta
that,
cut
but I'm
off
just saying. Yeah, I mean, 1.2 million is a lot for I think they've inflated some numbers here pretty heavy, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, and you know, some of these, if you don't tackle for the next, 10 years, what's that price gonna be in the end? of
And
10?
the other question I have is, they all have exterior envelope improvements. What does that include?
Tuck pointing, caulking.
That's all the brickwork on all the buildings.
Drainage.
So where do they come up with a closed caption TV camera system? CCTV, I assume that's closed caption.
Security
TV.
camera.
That's a security deal.
All of our cameras are,
But like even on there, if you add up all the LED lighting, it's $2.6 million. We pay all the electric bills for $2.6 million.
and
And
again,
it's just one of those things, that's something we can change them out as they go bad or a little at a time, but yeah, that's a lot of money for LED lighting. So, but there's a list of those,
Well,
the
yeah, and I mean,
security
there's
entrances
some of
at
that
the high
stuff.
school. So we talked a lot about the security entrances into them, and there's one grand plan to blow out a wall, and it's like $1.6 million. Well, that's options. We gotta find something better than $1.6 million and put a security entrance at the high school, and there are other options,
Well, it's just like the
So-
district office, 2.4 million. We can build a hell of a building for 2.4 million.
Yeah,
And that's a renovation project.
yeah.
I mean, that's a little skewed to me.
So it's definitely a worst case scenario. Definitely a worst case scenario. But, I do think it's smart to move forward with the idea of trying to put together a bond that will wrap around. And I think we're not making a decision, we're gonna do that tonight, just move forward with that idea and some information.
What does that mean? Like we have a meeting to talk about what we think we should spend the money on, or what's that look like?
I've thought a lot about that and have talked to a lot of my colleagues that have gone through one recently, and based on the data kind of informally that I've collected, it says, if this is my bond or the board's bond, it's not gonna go anywhere. And so the most successful districts that I've found have developed like a facilities committee representative of the community, 15 to 20 people. And where it's community driven, and the community has a lot of input in what what you plan for, how you schedule things, and then it becomes their bond to, tell the story to the community versus Jason or Brett doing it, if that makes sense. And there's been a lot of success. from that process. And obviously the board's heavily involved in that. I'm heavily involved in that, but when you gather that community input all along the way, it takes more time and it's a little bit longer of a process, but from what I've found, it appears to be. So. And obviously lots of conversations at the board table to talk about timelines, details, and probably some kind of strategic planning session in my mind or retreat for the board to really just focus on this idea. And maybe that is looking at that retreat, looking at some of these and going, yeah, or yeah, we were kind of leaning this way. That way you could give a committee some further direction. But also to plan out timelines and what that looks like. Do you potentially hire a marketing company to help you market it? That's pretty typical piece. Lots of times that can be an architect firm. There's other people that can do that. All these kinds of things. So if this group is saying, yeah, we want to keep talking, those are all the kinds of things that we'd have to do over the next 6 to 8 months.
Like, what I like to see is that we narrow our scope of improvements. Personally, as a board, that we narrow our scope of improvements. Before we even consider. Even a visitation of a bond. And the reason why I say that is because on our 5-year capital improvement plan. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Building facilities that we have budgeted for replace roof or roof repairs already. So, like I say, are we conflicting with?
I think roofs would be taken care of capital.
Yeah, but like, it's like here at Clay Center High
Let's talk about
School.
the parking lot. We don't have.
No, it's like,
We don't have
that's not even listed.
It's not even on there.
It's not even on.
What's that?
The
The parking lot at Clay
that's
Center High
at the
School.
middle school.
The new gym floor at Clay Center High School is not even on there.
I don't see it.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at is just, I just feel that we need to just really get into the details and narrow the scope of improvements. First, before that we even visit any type of discussion with the bond.
You know, for how long a bond's gonna take, I think we can do both at the same time. Get a little update, we get to putting things together. You know,
I mean,
we're not talking about
you're
going
2
to
years
election.
away from a bond compared to some of this stuff can be done in a
Right.
2-year period,
Right.
capital outlay.
But my goal would be is so we do get a bond, if we're gonna do a bond, we get it passed so it wraps around and we don't have a dead year in there. I mean, it is what it is, you know, and the major projects we got, so one of them would be. When you look at it is that, so Jeff asked about the classrooms, you know, the one thing we talked about on tours possibly. Is moving kindergarten, pre-K. And the people in this building to Garfield. That's what that classroom addition would be, and make that a 1 through 5th grade. Get rid of the portables. Get rid of all that. So that's kind of what that discussion was, Jeff, at the,
And get rid of this.
and yeah, and we would abandon this building, sell it, whatever, we would abandon this and get rid of that.
So then that 2.5 million on there can be stricken off of there if that's the.
Well, exactly. Exactly.
There's a lot of either
Less
or,
bills.
so like the secure entrances, they have the small and they have the overhaul. You wouldn't do both, you do one or the other.
But some of the things that we've actually talked about and in this room right here. And the things that and the last time we were up the high school about that gym floor and that parking lot.
Right.
And
Well, the parking lot should be on here.
they're not even on.
We talked about the parking lot on our walkthrough.
Gym floor is under miscellaneous district on this,
Miscellaneous district.
under the second big one here.
I think it's under the high school under interior.
The parking lot's on an interior,
No.
Oh.
No, sorry, that was a different
The
one.
gym floor,
the gym floor.
432.
Side improvements is the parking lot.
Side improvements.
So
I know, I seen.
I think they can pour that new parking lot for $500,000.
10% of it for 300,000.
So.
Which is
I don't know, we had concrete last week, and it was $195 a yard.
So it's gonna cost.
Well, I think one of the things that needs to be looked at maybe is, I don't know why we couldn't put a layer of asphalt over the top of the parking lot spot. you know, and get it to drain right, and maybe that's more feasible, you know, but all that stuff we talked about, I'm just saying, some of that, we're gonna have to do it in a bond. Some of it as we work through our 5-year plan or whatever with our capital outlay, there's too many things there that we just can't, too high dollar thing at both schools, at all the schools. You know, so in my opinion, we need to continue that discussion towards a bond while we're doing the capital outlay stuff. I mean, we were all, you know, on the outsides of the buildings, and say the landscaping beds, you know, but that can be capital outlay. That's not a bond type of deal. And I shared with people, you know, for us to get caught up on some things, we're gonna have to contract some of it out. If we expect our people to do all that, we're just gonna fall farther and farther behind. We just have people to take care of all that. So, yeah, so. You know, I think it's okay to keep the discussion going about a bond, but, and then we can go to the discussion on things on this list of what can be capital outlay and what could be. What could be bond. But I think we need to continue that discussion and stay in that process. Anybody else have anything?
So can you explain, when we look at the estimated $450,000 deficit for next year, does that apply to capital outlay too? How does that?
So that's a good question. And so it will impact valuation per pupil, which does secondarily impact capital outlay, but not nearly as much as base aid per pupil. And so it is a really good question and can be really confusing for individuals when we say we're talking about a bond for deferred maintenance, but in the same, you know, week, we're also talking about reducing our budget for next year. And so they're two different buckets, and the buckets can't be used for the same thing. And so our student enrollment deficit and revenue impacts general fund and LOB. Deferred maintenance and all of these things, roofs and safe and secure entry, you know, that's what we use capital outlay for. But we can't use capital outlay funds to make up for our student enrollment deficit. You can't pay a teacher out of capital outlay. You can't pay a para out of capital outlay. You can't buy a student, you know, different things like that. And so they are two different buckets of money and are treated completely different because of the laws and the rules that allow you to expend money out of each of those funds. But that's a very good question. In the school district world, it can be super confusing because it can appear as though like, what, you know, hard to understand, so. It's a good
You know,
question.
Brad, by chance, where do you currently right now, where do you see the district overall with like 2 years from now, 5 years from now?
From what aspect?
Yeah. Well, just, you know, currently as of today, for instance, I mean, do you see it to where we were able to keep maintaining what we currently have without a bond? Or do you feel that we need a bond, for instance, future bond, to be able to maintain their district within 2 years from now, 5 years?
It's a really good question, and I always just like to look at history because history usually repeats itself, right? And so with a district our size and the resources that we have, the last few years, we've tried really hard as a district to stay revenue neutral, right? And so all of our costs are going up in every aspect of everything that we do, but we're not bringing in extra revenue. So if we want to continue doing that, then we have to be creative on the other side of it. And so I do believe that this is more of a maintenance bond and that we are a maintenance bond district, meaning we are going to have to use a bond fund to help us keep up high quality facilities for our kids and our staff. And that means in my opinion, every 10 to 15 years, we need to find that reasonable levy and we need to utilize those funds to help maintain our facilities. It doesn't mean we're going to be building grandiose new things with bond money, but we're going to be helping maintain good, high quality facilities. Without a bond, it will be impossible to maintain the current level of our buildings. If we wouldn't do a bond,
Without a big mill levy.
That's the alternative to it. Then if we don't do a bond, then we would, in my opinion, need to look at maximizing back to 8 mils in capital outlay. Maximizing LOB to 33% and getting every dollar of tax revenue that we can. So that's my opinion.
And one thing is like, our revenues went up in the district, but it's been because of the increase in the state aid. It's not because of tax dollars. And now that that thing's been settled, like they've hit this level, who knows what's gonna happen at the state now? You know, that increase to base aid, because the court thing's been settled now.
Dave, I'll just give you an example. Clay Center's high school library. Wakefield Library, Wakefield, junior high wing, Wakefield gym, Garfield wing that goes west. Kindergarten classrooms at Lincoln. And the first round of air conditioning was all bond issue stuff. Wouldn't have been done without a bond issue. So in order to do big projects, say the parking lot, the gym floor at Clay Center High School, if you're really thinking about paving the softball field parking lot. I mean, those types of things, there's no way our district can do that out of pocket or even try to do it out of pocket without doing a bond issue.
So it's a crazy sticker shock though.
It is. You know, and we did a bond issue, let's see, we did one in 01, which was a majority of that stuff I just listed. And then we did one in 2015. But yeah, it's there's no way that we could even attempt to do that list at all without doing a bond issue.
And we've been through the buildings and we're falling behind on what we do now and spending it.
See, that's what I was kind of curious about, because I see it right here in the capital improvement, you know, we have budgeted. Anyway, 59,000 is what we have budgeted for preventative maintenance, so. That right there, is that something there that we need to revisit? Also, so if we're falling behind on preventative maintenance.
Some of them are in specific projects, you know.
So that 59,000, that's just for HVAC, freezers, mechanical equipment, preventative maintenance. Craig and Jason have a budget that they operate off of annually to take care of deferred maintenance. And that's actually a great example there too. If we can balance the needs of what capital outlay pays for in its plan versus what a bond pays for, and let's say a bond can free up a little bit more room in capital outlay. The good example is we could shift Craig and Jay, I hate using it, the maintenance and grounds budget from general fund over to capital outlay, and right there, that's $100,000. If capital outlay can take care of their budget, well, why is that important? Because then it lessens the reduction where the impact we have to use in budget reductions to find room out of general fund and LOB. And maybe maybe a retreat is in order and appropriate sometime in the next foreseeable future, just to allow more time.
I mean, I just off the list, say January, if we could. Have one in January, and up to that point, I do think it's important to keep moving forward and getting information on a bond and providing it to us. So then we'll look at January. How does that sound for everybody? Just
Is any of the board members opposed to that approach?
yeah, it's fact finding and putting stuff together. It's not like this is what we're going to do, but we need to start getting that together and thinking about it. Yep. So. All right, anything else from that?
You have what you need from us for tonight.
Yeah, I'll be back next month.
So are we kind of just bringing our opinions on what we think needs to be tackled?
Like I say, we'll do that in January.
That's
We'll
what
have a
we will.
retreat.
So that's our task before us, is to be kind of,
Yeah, got a
Listing
few
those out.
months.
okay.
Yeah, we'll start to.
I would love to have community input before we meet in January.
Mhm.
And because I don't care what my opinion is, I'd like to hear what other people think, I don't know if there's any way that we can survey them or what kind of,
I don't know why, we'll get plenty of community input. I mean, I wouldn't do this without community input. I just think that would come after our January meeting to know where we're at and what we're thinking. And then it would jump into a lot more of the community. I think we need to get our thoughts together first and our ideas together first before we go with the full out community input thing. That's how I feel about it. Right after that, yeah, we start to do that and get it out there. That's my thought.
is there any way we can, so this couldn't be a discussion that we could have during a regular meeting? As we've had 2 or 3 board meetings every month. That's.
So to sit down and go through all the stuff on this list and prioritize things, it's gonna take a little bit of time.
So we'll prioritize it, not a committee of people
We'll get to the committee of people.
after
Yes.
we've been.
I think there's a lot of things on here we can say, no, we're not gonna do that before we go to.
This committee would know it was on capital outlay or. We don't, you know.
When they're like, everybody, when you see this worst case scenario, if you put this list out there to them and it's like, holy cow, you know what I'm saying? And it's not near that. So I think we need one good meeting to sort through it and give everybody a chance. And then, yeah, I intend to do this very much in the public eye and as Brett said, we want to be everybody's, not just the school board. But I think we're just a little early before we go do that.
So in my mind, each month, probably have an agenda item related to this topic, whether highlighting different aspects, whether it be timeline, whether it be maybe bring in a bond counsel to explain what financing would look like. Maybe bring in the architect to say, hey, here's what bond planning looks like, just so you guys are super knowledgeable and prepared and have time to think to where we're not taking any action, but we're just hearing and discussing all aspects of the bond process for several months so that we have appropriate time at the table to discuss and talk. And then think about it, come back the next month, have some more time. And so in my mind, that's kind of what I'm thinking in the next several months, that we'd have an agenda item focused on different aspects of the process and then.
Well, at the same time, as we move forward with this, with whether it's either direction, then I believe we have more insight on how we plan on using this bond, for instance, a potential future bond, whether it goes through or not. But anyway, on how we can use that to increase student achievement. Because that's basically what we're in the business for. Also,
There was a lot of this bond on safety too. You know, I mean, let's be honest, those 3 big transformers sitting out in Lincoln School playground is, in my opinion, needs to be dealt with. You know, and the entrances, however we deal with the entrances, and some of these we can't do, but the safety, the camera, the voiceover thing, I think is an important thing that we need to look at. You know, it's a communication thing. So, but again, it's the discussion with us is what do we think should be bond and what do we think should be capital outlay and work on that balance. So that's kind of the goal of all of it, and get that first before we go any other direction. Anything else? All right, very good. And then the other thing we got here is the T-Mobile thing, is that we don't have anything for tonight. They haven't got back to us yet.
Yeah, we don't have the formal written offer yet, and Dusty's in contact with them.
So we'll just table it and talk about it next week. Anything else there? Anything on next meeting? Well, make sure. Well, again, you know, the agenda planner, feel free to sign up for that. I think that's been good. We've had 2 people, I think, at all of them, so it's been good. Future agenda items, again, any of those you can send me through email, Brett, if there's something you want to get on there and definitely get it on there to discuss. Anything else on that? All right, let's take a short break, and then we'll, come back.
Thanks, drive safe.
We have it on the 5 year. I thought we were saying we're so expensive and that they were just gonna patch it. Lighting. Rainy. But not the.
Jeez. Here. You too. Teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Well, it was like say for a little bit.
How do you know that? Sewer treatment. Well, they kind of got side, swiped. They were gonna buy that land from, I think it's Lawrence and Stephanie Avery, and then that guy from Washington bought it. Yeah. So now they're back to square. Well, I know, I got letters the other day about the deal in East End see, I've been trying to get them to build another lagoon down there on the bottom. And they go, well, I said, you can build it the same height as the two are there because they're above lake elevation. But that water gets a third.
The dilation.
Yeah, it wouldn't have no runoff. Yeah, see, and that's the whole thing, it's been running off down. Wildlife control, so they say they can't do that. Well, the discharge is. I mean, like, you can't do that, man. State cutting today. Yeah. So that's when they're talking about, they're gonna pipe a deal across the river. Right, that's what they're talking, that's what that note said, they once they got 180 acres. Right. Well, that's what the strong need, whoever their engineers tell them they need. Well, yeah, it's gonna be clear water, I just don't get it. Like dad got one, well, that piece is. Yeah, yeah, it won't affect him at all. Yeah, but it reads, the paper he got reads like that they want an easement to buy that property there, and I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense, because there's all this property down here. They were talking about doing that. Evident of bay. Well, that's what it said, and this is on this guy that's already built. Well, right, and they're talking about that on his piece. Oh, your dad's piece too? Yeah, that's how, yeah, that's what the paper was, right? Which I was gonna ask. But they don't have, they don't have a plan. So they don't even know yet. Well, then how they're just going off of what? It's hard to read that because it doesn't say. They're going off of what an engineer's been telling them for 5 years now, 6 years now. You know, the first they come in and told them that all the sewer lines in Lakeville were terrible. They had to raise all this money and, well, they got a grant. And well, with the 2 grants they got $3 million. Well, in 6 years or whatever, they haven't fixed one sewer line in Lakeville. But the sewer fee on your water bill's gone up from 25 to 40. Yeah, and they've collected all this money over a 6-year period and they haven't spent one dime. Well, then they got this grant. Of course, their excuse was about the grant. Well, we got to show that every patron's paying $40 a month in order to get the grant. That was a requirement of the grant. You're taking in so much revenue a month. Well, so then they got the grant, then they got another grant. So their 2 grants are enough to do what they need to do, but they don't have their, since that land got sold, they did this too much. Right. Well, the paper reads, you can't read it, like either they want to purchase it or put or have an easement on it or something, and I was gonna ask you too, because now with Joel being the county attorney, he got this letter from Wakefield saying it's on this piece of property outside of town about easement for their sewer treatment and and you can talk to your attorney if you need to talk to your attorney and blah, 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 blah. Well, can he still talk to Joel, or does he just need to come in and talk to one of you guys about it, or how's that work? How would that work?
Well,
I know, wait another month, then you won't have Joel. in.
I'd say, well, the whole thing too, is Joel doesn't represent the city of Wakefield, so.
Right,
Yeah.
because it's not a county issue.
No, it's a
No,
city, it's a
city.
city.
I would think so.
So he could talk.
Yeah.
he could talk to
I don't even know who the city of Wakefield is.
It says in that, it says on that letter, it's
And it's Rick.
David.
Is Rick still, is, I don't even know.
No, it's not,
Oh,
no,
no.
it's a David and something, I think, is what the letter said. I read it. It's been a
I don't
week
think.
and a half ago, I read
I
it.
think they got. But yeah, it's been going on. They're on their third mayor down there since they started this sewer thing and all this other. And then it's been 4 years since the state told them they needed to do something.
And it's
And
still,
they still haven't. done it, so.
Yeah,
But the state told them they had to do it because they don't want that discharge water running on wildlife.
right.
But
right.
it's clear water. I mean, it's not like it's the very last, it's the last lagoon of 4 lagoons.
Yeah,
So it's, you know, it should, just hasn't evaporated.
well, that's, yeah,
But I tried to get them to build another lagoon.
yeah.
On the old airstrip.
Yeah.
Right?
And
Well, I thought if they, even if they wanted to irrigate, wanted to irrigate, like on that airstrip
Well,
down there or something,
that's-
or grass, that could be
that's-
mowed and.
That's in the lake.
It's in the floodplain.
It's in the flood.
Yeah.
But they could build a lagoon and raise it up like the other two that are already there.
Yeah.
By the time we got to the third one down there, it would be gone. You know, but they won't listen. They're listening to this engineer, you know, of course, he's getting 10%, which is 400,000.
Not really much incentive.
There's like, what is there, on that piece, I mean, we call it, permit, there's like 180 acres, they're like.
See, their first intention was to go buy 100 acres from Lawrence and Shell.
Well, Dad said somebody told them that, who's,
See, Lawrence,
Yeah,
Lawrence
these-
70 acres.
Depending on how much.
Or south, that's,
Shaw.
told them that there's a piece down there that they would even probably donate.
But see, they talk about too, doing it on.
Then you'd have to
metal
put it out
right
there.
there at the Margarita.
Oh,
The Margarita people just went, you know, you're not.
That's like 3 years. Contractor was like, that's 3 years.
They can get for whatever you want.
And they're not growing anything there that you would.
Just mowing grass.
Good question.
But yeah, kind of crazy.
All right, I'll let you know.
No, but it was.
About it. And I didn't read
You
it.
know, they had
It's
some
just-
big meeting down there and they were gonna, they wanted to spend $4 million.
Oh, they're gonna buy it. Or they're gonna, or you eminent domain, or you could, you know, or you could pick up, you could donate. I can't talk about purchase and, or purchase, and you can fit it up. to
Jeff.
And it's like, well, you wouldn't purchase an easy.
Okay. The meeting going again, on break, is that, I move we go into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel matters pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under KOMA. And that the open meeting shall resume at, 7:56. The executive session should include the board superintendent and county. Second, all those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
And then that's where I'll know. It actually wasn't on it. Oh, until 5:35. Sorry. I think today I was out and doing. I actually presented a meeting. Yeah, I know, that's why I got a screenshot of it. And I intended to be here. Don't have to do it, but.
Not. I thought it'd be good for Thanksgiving. I think it was. Yeah, a little time break. I'm gonna take a picture of them. You ready? Very good, thank you. Yeah, I'll look at all my phone. All right. No, I don't need very breaks. Had someone that's the transformers. Yep, part of that, right there in conflict. The, you know, like, just there. I just kept me over my office, and I was doing it. And now the chit chat on Google that. They're like up on a big wooden pole and they're great. Yeah, what side? That.
Gina.
Yeah. No, no. I've heard about that. Just the red show, almost like that. Here's that. That's already. She's like, I can't tell you. She was like, your kids want you, Jack. This is the front. I said, I'm not. I had one. Are they transformers on the left side of them? Everybody didn't do that. Like, that little, yeah. It's not that later. Oh, I know where it's at. Yeah. In the middle of there. What don't you? We're gonna get through working. I just stopped and then. I'm gonna look for it. Is that one? Well, what's the number? This one's that ain't there, they don't see. Well, in order to change the owner out, go back. I'm not really sure. I guess it's like, oh, wow. Why? Yeah, they're on the playground. They will. So I don't. What would I? How is their wires? Oh, yeah. And then with the bowl, yeah. I mean. I don't know, like I said, kids are not in the bowl. No, really. Having a context. Oh, they know that. One of the kids said, we were having a context. He didn't take the ball up on the field. And one of the sisters, I think I was one of the triplets and kind of said, do you know, this devil has to climb up there and get that? You want him getting on the roof? Quit doing it. That's nice. And Sarah's going inside the pool and by the bathroom. They saw it. Yeah. But I saw that. There was
There's a link to the, the guy in the top, that's where, the other one, we can put it on that and the guy, and that's. I would even go there and the two that are over that. Maybe that, you have long. It wouldn't fit in the truth. And here, you know, yeah, and it's out. You think that's just not in the front. I think that's what it's great. And. And why when you look long to the end and everything. Well, it's kind of that's what it's. And not like that.
Yeah. I'm gonna send this out. We can send this out tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah. They're only that.
Yeah. Are they AV mechanics?
Here later.
Well, and then at 2:30 to get that census on it, so I'm only by one. Don't I don't have to do that when I take the photo.
Then first, people around here to love.
Okay, well, within the regular meeting, personnel report in there. Any questions on the personnel report? Is that, I moved to approve the personnel report, including supplemental updates as presented.
Did you guys see the personnel
Second.
addition from today?
Yeah.
Yes. Is that all those in favor? Carry 7-0. That's.
And move we